Welcome to this highly questionable thing led by this highly questionable man. He's my father. That's Izzy Gutierrez. What do you like on the show today, Iz?
The Raptors are really trying to fool us this year.
Dale, papi.
Are the Seahawks smart to dismantle the Legion of Boom?
One of the great athletic achievements in my entire time covering sports is the idea that Ray Lewis played that way for 2 decades and was able to sustain it. He did it for 2 decades. Defenses that play this way, and they just traded Michael Bennett, and it looks like they're going to dismantle the thing. When you play that way, there's a short window, a small window, that violently, with that much menace, and you get spent miles on all of the tires. So this team is fading because that defense, we saw it against Deshaun Watson last year, that defense is pretty much done.
Whether or not it's time to break them up doesn't really interest me because these things end eventually. At some point it happens, right? So if this is the right time, we'll see. Maybe we won't. But what interests me is where this continues. Will Richard Sherman be able to be the same Richard Sherman in another uniform? Not just on the field, but vocally within that locker room. It worked uniquely in this locker room. Same with Michael Bennett, same with any of these other guys that are more vocal. Will Pete Carroll be able to have that same sort of message with other players? Will you still be able to be that vocal on his team if you're not that good as a whole? That to me is interesting. It's like breaking up the bad boy Pistons and putting the parts in different places and see if they could still operate that way in those times.
Man, you're talking about Seattle? Who cares about Seattle's? You got to talk about the champs, the champs. The guys that won last year, they're getting Michael Bennett. That means they're getting better and better and better. They're becoming a powerhouse. Yeah. You guys don't know what you're talking about.
Apparently not. How are they still getting better? Like, why are we just giving them players? They just won the Super Bowl with Nick Foles. It's not fair. You're right. What the hell are we talking about?
He's kind of right. Why are we focusing on Seattle when those guys just got better?
Let's just think about the past.
Have DeMar DeRozan and the Raptors convince you that this year is different?
Oh, they're a piece away. They're always a piece away. The piece sometimes is Ibaka, sometimes it's PJ Tucker. Now they're a new offense away. They win last night, and DeMar DeRozan was great all night, and then he had a monster. You don't normally see these things happen at the rim in these kinds of games, late situations. Here you go. Poor Stan Van Gundy. I mean,
all the way.
And one. Poor defense. If only they had a 7-footer named Andre the Giant that they could have used in that situation.
That is not exactly the type of play or the type of win that gives me more confidence in the Toronto Raptors because they're still so dependent on Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan making plays like that late in games. They will continue to be dependent on Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan making plays, maybe not like that, but making plays late in games because, yes, they have this offense. They have a faster pace. They're still not great at shooting threes percentage-wise. They're bottom of the league there. But if you look at the roster and you look at who they're really depending on, yes, they're deeper. Yes, they're more reliable after those two. But, man, when it comes to the playoffs, those two play a little bit differently. Maybe it's a mental block. I don't know what. But the end game is still going to be those guys winning it for you. If you trust that, then sure, they're better off than before. But not really.
Yeah, but here's the thing about trust and that Raptors team. Until you see that Raptors team do it, you're going to doubt again that they can do it. It doesn't matter that they change their offense. You will not believe that they can beat LeBron James until after they've beaten LeBron James. They could win 60 games in the regular season. You would not trust them. There aren't a lot of circumstances seeing this team fail against LeBron James where you trust them to succeed against him.
The best way you can convince yourself is don't look at your team and say they're different. Look at the Cleveland Cavaliers and say that team's different, not as good. Look at the Boston Celtics and say that team's not as deep, not as good. We can get past them. But in terms of who the Raptors are, it feels pretty similar.
Well, I have seen this movie before. We know what happens to the Raptors at crunch time. They choke, And what is going to happen this year? They're going to finish in first place. They gotta face the 8th place team. And you know who's going to be in 8th place? The Heat. And you know what is going to happen?
Oh.
The Heat are going to kick the out of the Raptors.
Wow.
Right there.
Wow.
That's right.
Okay.
That's
just
right.
a beat down.
All
Wow.
right.
Should the NFL punish the team that does Derrius Guice if he likes men?
So this is happening again, right? It's not enough to ask Des Bryant if his mother is a prostitute. This question has been asked before. These people in this primitive workplace think that they can, because they're making investments, treat people differently than you would treat them in any other workplace, because there are laws about asking your interview people questions that are this kind of invasive. And what needs to happen next is the NFL or this media company or another media company has to find the name of the team, find the name of the person who did it, publicly put that person in front of us, and let there be consequences. If what you want is actual change, instead of just sitting here talking again and again about content and arguing about this stuff, if you want change, what you must do is that.
It's absolutely right. This is pretty simple here when you look at it. This is a team that's trying to justify this question by asking, hey, we want to see how they respond to things. However, when you lump it in with questions like, does your mother sell herself, then it obviously comes with a negative connotation that being gay or just being called gay is a negative. So should this person be fined? Sure. But more importantly, like Dan says, this person needs to be placed in front of a camera and asked the question, why do you think it's a negative to be gay? Because it's people like this who are keeping 12 and 15 and 17-year-old kids, mostly boys who are interested in sports, in the closet for longer. It's people like this who are pressing the question or pressing the point of gay is soft and gay is not welcome and gay is not strong-minded. And those are keeping people in the closet for longer. There are kids out there having to make this decision between choosing a career in sports and being their true selves. Imagine how difficult that decision is. Imagine how unfair it is for everybody. It kept me in the closet until I was 31 while I was pursuing my career in sports. It kept people like Ryan O'Callahan, former NFL lineman, in the closet and thinking about suicide before he thought about coming out. So think about those things when you ask these questions and you're just trying to make your football team better, because you're making life worse for a whole heck of a lot of people, and it's a whole heck of a lot of people who do not have anybody in your league to relate to because they're too afraid to come out, partially because of people like you.
Is everyone being too hard on Josh Rosen?
What a fascinating story. The idea, and maybe based on what we just talked about, you understand where some primitive thoughts come from. The idea that at that position, a quarterback, we all know this, smartest player on the field. Be smart. We need you to be smart. Oh, not that smart. Don't be that smart. That's too smart. You might start politics talk. You might be a guy who's reckless and tell us that you had a whirlpool in your dorm room when you were in college. Don't talk that much. Don't be that smart that you're so confident in your opinions that we're going to drop you in the draft because we want robots. We want people who will run through a wall and think only that they are serving us, not for themselves, that they just serve the greater cause and can't have interests outside of football.
I do understand the idea that in football in particular, in this violent sport, that you have to be all in more than any other sport, that you can't have anything else that you can go to for your money or for your career, and that you're diving all in. So, of course, Josh Rosen comes from a life of privilege. His father is a spinal surgeon. His mother makes good money as well, and yet they're afraid that he won't be all in on football. Man, you can't get even as far as he's gotten without being that all in with that sport. And if you're going to tell me that guys like Aaron Rodgers and guys like Tom Brady aren't opinionated, don't have their opinions heard within those team meetings all the time in that locker room, you're crazy. It's part of what makes them good. It's part of what makes their organizations good. Josh Rosen being too smart or too opinionated is kind of ridiculous.
You know, with all the money this kid has, what the hell he wants to play football?
I mean,
If I were him, I'd be, in South Beach all day long, right there, with a nice chair. That's
smoking
right.
$100 bills.
Put a hot tub on the beach.
That's right. Come here to the Clevelander, spend my time here. I'll be a celebrity here in South Beach, and no consequences whatsoever.
Maybe he can take your job when you're done.
That's right. No, wait a second. No.
Slow your roll, big man. Slow your roll.
Is LeBron right that this is the best he has ever played? We have to talk about this guy again. Forget about him. Let's go to the next question. Should the selection committee put Trae Young and Oklahoma in the NCAA Tournament despite going 2-8 down the stretch?
Whoa, an act of total defiance and rebellion and anarchy. I wasn't even prepared for this question. I'd taken notes on LeBron. I was going to give you a thorough dissertation on LeBron's play this season. But since we're with Trae Young in Oklahoma, they're 2-8 down the stretch. They've been pretty terrible, but he's been pretty great. So what do you do with this new phenomenon that you seem to have happening in the diluted college sports where Ben Simmons is great, but his team's not any good, and LSU is terrible. Or Markelle Fultz is great, but Washington wins 9 games all season. When you've got another situation where Trae Young scores a lot and has a lot of assists, but his team stinks, what do you do with that information?
This always makes me laugh when we talk about these bubble teams being so outraged for not getting in, because let's be honest, the teams that are going to be in the 9, 10, 11 slot aren't really going to win a national championship. Maybe they can make a run to the Final Four every once in a while, but not going to get there. So you have the added bonus here. If you allow this Trae Young into the tournament, tournament, even if it's for a game, you get more eyes on that game. And if he does make a run, you have the phenom doing exactly what you would hoped he would do. And again, bringing more eyes to your game. But if he doesn't make it, you know he does get on? The NIT. The NIT is on ESPN. There's more eyes on ESPN. So I say leave him out and let him play the NIT, baby.
Conflict of interest.
I don't want to talk about this question. I want to talk about LeBron. Okay. Hey, LeBron, listen, this is not the best you have ever played. You know, you're full of it. You know, you won 2 championships in Miami. You're trying to put lipstick on a pig. You know what I mean? That's what you're trying to do. That's right. It's not the best he's ever played.
You think when LeBron can manipulate? How about this guy saying he doesn't want to talk about it, looping back around, giving his take and forcing us out of here?
Wow, really? It's all going to his head.
Coming up next on Highly Questionable.
Is he doing too much? Here we go.
Already answer that. This is entirely unnecessary. There are gyms made for this. You don't have to carry the gym out with you.
Yeah. At this angle, it's not clear that they're just not in neutral going downhill.
Attention shoppers, clean up on aisle 14. Clean up on aisle 14. Someone dropped a jar of pickles. Pickles. Kosher pickles.
Beatboxing at a big box store. Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
A red minivan has the lights on in the parking lot.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Geico.
Time to play the game that is on autopilot. Do you question?
You give us topics and events, we question them.
Do you question if this is fair play?
Okay, we head out to the Russian Premier League, and that's not fair of me to think that there wouldn't be fair play just because it's the Russian Premier League, but that's what I'm doing. Let's see. So what is that? Is that... Oh, he's injured. What? Oh, he's hurt, and they just take the ball away from him, and he's not faking like all the other floppers.
How are we sure he's not faking? He was just standing over the ball and then fell down.
I know, but I think, oh my God, that field seems cold. Yeah, that's the snow. That's usually cold. It seems like a hard field, and okay, so he like tore a ligament. Oh, something horrible. Oh, was that a bone in the back? What just happened? I think I saw a human bone protruding. Let me see this. Let me do an investigation here. What came out of the back of that sock? On the right side. What is that?
Oh, that's probably just a really bad cramp. That's probably a really bad cramp. His calf knotted up there. I think that's what that was.
I think that guy was in on it, you know. I think that he got a few things on the side. Oh, my leg. Comes crunch time, especially in a close game like that, you know. I think that he did pretty good, you know. He walked very well out of that stadium.
Okay, there you go. My father's exclusive reporting. Pockets full of cash. He didn't limp out of the stadium.
Right. He was running.
Running away from his thievery. And also salsa dancing, evidently.
Do you question if Alvin Kamara is doing too much?
Wow, my father made him Latin. This guy is really good. The Saints running back, he breaks a lot of tackles. He's really strong. Let's see what we've got here. Is he doing too much? Here we go.
Already answer that. This is entirely unnecessary. There are gyms made for this. You don't have to carry the gym out with you.
Yeah. At this angle, it's not clear that they're just not in neutral going downhill. We don't know if he's getting a lot of help here from gravity.
So these things are supposed to be locked into the ground, you see. They're not supposed to be carried and taken out of the door. This is clearly just for show. This is the equivalent of LeBron James doing his workouts and kind of dancing in front of the camera. And again, this Jeep, I mean, does it even look that heavy? He's not even pulling the tension on the rope. He's just kind of walking, holding around this squat rack, which is kind of ridiculous.
I mean, how does that trainer feel in the background? The guy following that behind. Look, I'm teaching this from the J.J. Watt school of make everyone think you're working really hard.
You know what else you can use? Maybe a weight vest and a parachute or something. Do something like that, because this seems, doesn't even seem that hard, and it just seems it's just for the gram.
Well, that's an interesting workout, but I have seen more interesting one.
Which one? Is this one of Papi's favorites?
That's right.
Here it is. It's the sexual one. There it is.
If you ever feel like you're getting tired.
That right there is not the Kamara workout. That is the Cromartie workout.
Do you question if this vendor is doing too much?
My father never looked at the computer there. He's memorizing the questions now. He is not reading them in any way. Here's a vendor in the background of a Cubs game. Watch this guy. Here he is in the orange. He's trying to stay out of the line of sight of people. He could have just passed that down the road.
Is he
3
doing
guys.
No, he's doing exactly enough.
Right.
To get on television. He's wearing the bright orange shirt. He's trying to keep the people happy by keeping out of their line of sight, but he's clearly doing something that's going to get him on TV. That guy knows exactly what he's doing.
You vain fraud with this interest that you have in television.
Are you kidding me? The guy saw an empty seat, hell of an empty seat. He went in, he sat there, and he has no plans in leaving that seat. He opened the bottle, he gave it to the guy. He wasn't ready to go. He was ready to stay in the seat. Look at him.
Let's see. Let's see what we've got here.
Look at him.
He's ready to stay here.
He saw a good deal and he grabbed it. Look at him.
Yep.
A good deal and he grabbed it. Look, there is an open seat. Yeah, that's good work by him.
He sat right there.
That's right.
That's right. Now he opened it, ready to watch the game. That's what the guy did.
And he's fired.
That too.
I think that guy's a ref in his spare time.
Oh,
That's
no,
right.
I know that ref Papi's talking about. That ref is much faster.
Here he comes.
Have you seen this, Izzy?
Yes, this guy's been working out in this particular move.
Watch this. Here you go, Papi. Watch this.
There. Oh, look how fast he was. You know how many beers this guy can hand out at that speed? Come on, this guy's slacking over there.
Highly questionable is broadcast from the Clevelander Hotel on beautiful South Beach, Miami. Time to play the game that throws a shade at an elite level. See? Oh, no.
It's not a shade. It just throws shade regardless. He says it the way he wants. You tell us what to watch on television tonight. We tell you if we're intrigued.
Tonight on TNT, Warriors at Spurs.
I am being told, Papi, that this is the assist of the year. The Spurs were playing the Grizzlies. Do you think that this is going to be the assist of the year? Yes or no? Do you think yes or no?
Oh, yes. It's going to be assist of the year.
All right, let's see what we have here. Let's see. Oh, falling out of bounds.
Oh, okay. I like that.
That is beautiful. That is Spurs basketball in that. You lose, and who are those people that they just did that with?
Well, the guy who just made that pass, his nickname is Slow-Mo, because he does everything in slow motion, so that just tells you what you need to know.
I saw the Spurs, I recognized at the end there on the bench, not doing that.
With walkers.
Izzy, are you intrigued?
I'm always intrigued when these two teams play. I'm always intrigued when these two coaches are on the TV screen. I'm telling you, Kerr, Popovich, or flip that 2020.
Papi, are you intrigued?
Oh, see, I'm very intrigued. You like those two coaches?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? They're the two biggest blowhards in the league. Are you kidding me? They talk and talk and talk. They never shut up. They talk and talk and talk.
That's right. Like any